Hello guys, welcome back to Writer's Tales with The Last Adventures number 30, Slaves of the Moon. So we're on the space station Nova Quadrant. It's basically orbiting this interesting solar system, of course, over the planet Yakai. Known as Yakai. So peaceful planet, of course, down below. Halfway through the distance, of course, there's a moon there. Underneath, just above the planet, of course, just circling the planet. But this moon is quite different. Rather than just be, like sort of built with crater, of course. And I think that's how moons are created. This thing is was once a living person, like a living being, but now it's sort of taken the shape of a moon, and has powers beyond imagination. In terms, this moon is circling or observing the station, Nova Quadrant, and what it's doing is actually mind controlling the crew. And what it is, it's to do its own thing, but also killing them, of course, like sucking them out airlocks and everything else. It's basically controlling them just to commit suicide, really, out of the station. Just basically suck them into the vacuum of space, that sort of thing. Because I mentioned, of course, it was a living being. This actually is apparently this living being actually was again from a different galaxy, really, to be honest, from a planet, but ended up being executed exiled and then executed, or maybe killed. And somehow its soul ended up in a bit of a mixture in space, but also formed itself into a moon, which is strange, really, known as Beltar. Beltar, that was his name. That's his name, really. For what he was on his home planet, he's still here. But his essence, he was just a criminal, really. But he had psychic powers, really, very dangerous psychic powers, and he did the same thing to his people. I mean, people, like killing themselves, executing themselves, that sort of thing, accidental stuff like that. Very powerful stuff, really. And obviously, his own people found out, and they basically just dumped him wherever and left him to die. And obviously, because he's got psychic powers, it somehow brought himself to really form a shell around him, very much. So basically, inside that moon is basically a dead, decaying corpse, or a skeleton of what it was, really. So his personality and his own mind is sort of like you gather around in this moon, of course, and his psychic powers are still there. So basically, he still has his powers. He's just in a different galaxy. He's doing the same thing, but very restrictive as well, because he can observe. He can also read minds. He can also just do anything, really, like some very powerful thing, really. When the protagonists come, of course, they sort of come up against him, but he can't touch them, because they're from multiple different dimensions. They are, really, and obviously he can't read their minds. He can't control them, like hypnotize them or anything else. He's basically powerless and useless against them lot, really. But in ways of communicating, they communicate from one of the crew members that he sort of signals through. Various crew members, of course, like they sort of stop in his voice. He speaks through them, and obviously the crew member speaks what he's saying, really. It's like a radio, like a transmitted radio type thing, really, of course. And basically, for him, one of the things he wants to do is to take over the main galaxy that he's in, of course. With the space station in its sort of view of the planet he wants to look at, because it's observing life and stuff. At the time, I'll just keep it a little like a satellite thing going on. They're basically obscuring his plan, really, of course, and so he plans to get rid of them first, then take on the planet, of course. I mean, this planet, of course, has some sort of links to his home world, really. It's like a lineage, or I don't know, it's like a trading thing going on with the planet below. Like they do a trade on his home planet or something. He found out about it, but I think they sort of deceived his home planet, I think, and also he just wants to take over and take revenge, really, that sort of thing. Really, it's a bit complicated if you look at it, of course, as I'm saying it. But obviously, gets defeated, of course, using his powers, reacting to his powers. They sort of the protagonist uses overdo his powers, like reach the boiling point, really, like overdo it, or maybe just like that. And it hurts him. It basically kills him in the end. It just explodes him to death, really. He just goes into like dust, really, in space. And that's really with Slaves of the Moon, really. So, interesting facts for this one. So, Nova Quadrant. Well, it's actually based on like two things, like the Nova Station from Ark in Space Revenge of the Cybermen, but also Quadrant. A little bit of a reference to damaged goods in there as well, like actually. The reference, of course, we deal with psychic powers again, of course, which last seen in the Pinocchio virus, actually. So there's a bit of a reference, of course, again for the New Adventures as well, the Virgin New Adventures VNAs. They dealt with psychic powers, of course, from the psi powers towards the end of the run, actually. So that reoccurs again, of course. Beltar is actually sort of inspired by Umbra from the New Adventure Shadowmind. Remember Christopher Bullis? Umbra is just like this, and what do you call it? Just an asteroid, really. I think more like a childish personality with it as well. If you're familiar with that story, really. So basically something like that, really. And obviously Umbra's features, I forgot to mention, of course, is very similar to that moon from Legend of Zelda type thing, That's what we call it. People will probably comment down below what that means if you play Legend of Zelda. You probably know. Very similar to that thing, of course. I think, or maybe like something like that silent film, Trip to the Moon, or anything like that. Very sort of has a horrible, like, creepy face to it as well. Like, and obviously that was once a person, well, once a being, somebody. That was somebody, that was, and its essence, its sort of semi-features and also its powers as well are transmitted through that moon, really. So, yeah, of course, that's really about it with Slaves of the Moon, really. Interesting story. Look, space age story, of course, and yeah, just interesting. Another interesting photo free take on, really. Yeah, nothing else to say. Thank you guys for watching. As always, see you for the next video, and goodbye.